Let's talk about what controlled opposition looks like. Not loud opposition, not social media outrage, not carefully worded press releases. I'm talking about the kind that appears to fight, but never actually disrupts the system it claims to oppose. There's an old sports analogy that explains this perfectly. The Harlem Globetrotters were the stars. The Washington Generals were their opponents. The Generals ran the plays. They hustled up and down the court. They made the game look competitive, but the outcome was never really in doubt. That analogy is starting to resonate with a lot of voters watching today's political landscape, because when leaders are pressed with direct questions about money and influence, and the answers feel rehearsed instead of decisive, people begin to wonder what's really happening behind the scenes. Jack Cocchiarella recently asked Hakeem Jeffries a straightforward question about accepting money connected to executives at Palantir Technologies. It wasn't a complicated question. Should Democrats be taking that money? Let's watch.
Appraiser of yours recently of someone asking about money, it's about $44,000 to your victory fund from a Palantir executive. Do you think Democrats should be taking that money from the groups that are allowing Donald Trump to carry out this chaos on our country?
Well, we'll definitely look into that issue. And, I've raised north of $20 million over the last few years. The average contribution is about $27 per donation. So I'm very proud of that fact. But, my view is we're going to continue to raise money from grassroots Americans.
But should we then, when we come across those, if you did come across the $44,000, would you just say, okay, well, we're raising lots of money as Democrats, Republicans are struggling.
Yeah, listen,
give that back?
I'm absolutely happy to look into it. And as I've done in many other instances where appropriate, donate money to charity.
Mm-hmm. Because I just think that right now, like you talk about, we're kind of, what has been months after month after month of winning elections, Democrats on the rise. And I just think that right now, when we want to make sure that the Democrats that we're backing are those who are going to be fighting and taking on these corporate interests, these oligarchs who are doing Donald Trump's bidding and making lots of profits off of it. Is that a commitment that you then want to make?
Yeah, without question. And by the way, we're in the middle of a fight right now, which is a very important one, to push back against DHS and all of their enablers.
Yeah.
So I'm very comfortable, making it clear that, as Democrats in charge, if the American people give us that privilege, that we'll continue to stand our ground, stand on the side of the American people, and of course push back against the extremism that's being unleashed by ICE, DHS, and all of.
The exchange is telling. The question is clear. The follow-up is clear. But instead of a firm commitment, the response circles around fundraising totals and general principles. That may satisfy party insiders. It doesn't satisfy skeptical voters. Palantir isn't just another company. It's a major data analytics and surveillance contractor with deep government ties. It was co-founded by Peter Thiel, a billionaire who has played a visible role in national politics. So when party leadership declines to clearly distance itself from that money, it creates a perception problem, especially among younger voters already wary of corporate influence. And that wasn't the only moment raising eyebrows. In another interview, Wajahat Ali pressed Jeffries on whether he would support abolishing ICE. The conversation became tense. Watch.
ICE has a history. CPP has a history of terrorizing Black and brown communities. People are asking themselves, why are we, our taxpayer dollars, paying for masked, lawless men to terrorize our communities, kidnap people, take children, and kill Americans? So I ask you, and I'm doing a following up to Joy, because I want an answer to this. You said you want to rein in ICE. I'm talking about the long term now. Why not lead and say abolish ICE? Because what you're telling us is you want our taxpayer dollars to pay for a lawless masked armed agency to continue terrorizing our cities. And I'm trying to figure out how you, as a leader, can be telling Americans that their taxpayer dollars should be going to ICE.
I don't understand anything that you just said.
I spoke English.
I don't understand anything that you've just said to me when I've made clear that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize or kill them. That's the whole reason we're in this fight right now. That's the whole reason the DHS is getting ready to shut down. That's
so
the whole
abolish
reason
ICE.
why
you agree with me, Joy? Abolish ICE.
Listen, I'm going to use the language that I want to use. You can use the language that you want to use. And the language that I'm using right now relates to these type of bold, meaningful, dramatic changes that are designed to save lives right now in communities that look like the ones that I represent. And that's the goal.
Notice the tone. When the pressure increases, so does the defensiveness. This isn't just about one policy position. It's about how leaders respond when pushed to take bold, unmistakable stances. Now widen the lens even further. There has been reporting about how donations connected to AIPAC can be routed through fundraising platforms in ways that make their origin less obvious in Federal Election Commission filings, legally structured, procedurally compliant, but politically controversial. At the same time, younger voters, particularly after the defeat of Kamala Harris to Donald Trump, have expressed frustration over foreign policy decisions and the influence of major donors. Agree or disagree with that frustration, it exists, and it's shaping political energy. New movements are attempting to re-engage Gen Z voters, positioning themselves as a counterweight to organizations like Turning Point USA. The common theme in all of this is trust. Do voters believe party leadership is financially independent? Do they believe stated principles match fundraising behavior? Because in a hyper-connected political environment, transparency is no longer optional. Donation trails are searchable. Corporate affiliations are public. Statements are archived forever. Ambiguity doesn't age well. If leaders want credibility, they need clarity, clear commitments, clear red lines, clear refusals when necessary. Otherwise, the perception forms that the fight is theatrical, that resistance is being performed rather than executed. And once that perception sets in, engagement drops. Not because voters disagree, but because they stop believing. The question now isn't just about one interview or one donation. It's about whether Democratic leadership is willing to draw hard boundaries around corporate and lobbying influence. That's the test many voters are applying. And until the answers feel decisive instead of strategic, the skepticism will continue. This moment demands more than polished messaging. It demands credibility, and credibility can't be scripted.